Alright, so I had a wee idea of a different type of video to do after the Spurs United game that happened yesterday at the time we're recording this. Um, I had a really, really good debate with my brother, my dad, my mates Ali, my mates Greg, who do the podcast with me. And yeah, it was just a lot of talk about where United are and the whole kind of chat. United are front page, aren't they? So, just all that kind of chat and what needs to change and what we're so far seeing from Amorim and maybe what we're not so far seeing from Amorim. Everything's obviously easy to judge from sitting on a couch, but I've done this and been involved in this game my whole life, as is the people that I've just said I've been talking to. And you're not always right, and the game's opinionated, and that's what makes it great. But it's cool to have those chats. So I just thought about a different video rather than talking about the games. My mind kind of was going last night, and I couldn't stop. And what I started to do is I just started to have a little think about what I think, Amarin and even Ange at Spurs too. Let's use both. Kind of need to do for them, and what I see. Okay, let's not use Amarin to start with because he's just starting. But what I see so far from Ange is someone that has a principle of wanting to be attacking and free flowing football and be exciting and try and get at teams. I'm all for it. That's how I would want my team to play if I was still coaching. That's how I would want to coach. That's how I would want the kids to play. But I learned through my time of coaching, even albeit youth level, and just some other like high school teams and stuff. Nothing compared to what this is. But I think the game is the game. And what I learned is you need to be adaptable. And you can't just be one way or the other. And there needs to be a balance to both. As I'm learning as I get older with life too. There needs to be a balance to both. And I think with Ange, I love how Spurs play. I love watching Spurs because it's going to be a mad game as a neutral. There's going to be goals either way. They're very, very open. They're going to attack you, so they're probably going to get a couple. So they're exciting to watch. But are you going to get success just being gung-ho that way? And vice versa, do you ever really get success by being, just plucking one out my brain, Sean Dyche, right? And by the way, success, I mean like at the top. There's different levels of success. But if you're Sean Dyche and you're kind of banking on being defensive, how are you going to get success because you're so far that way as well? So what I'm talking about is trying to meet in the middle with your own values and principles, and every single manager is going to be different. So what I did last night was I started looking at Klopp and Arteta, who I would say are the two managers in the last kind of 10 years that have rejuvenated two clubs that have been at the top of English football, since my time and before my time in Arsenal and Liverpool. Right now, yeah, I know Arteta's not won a league title or a Champions League or anything, but he's had Arsenal up there in the title race for at least the last 3 seasons. So he's rebuilt them back up to that because Arsenal weren't there. They were finishing, fourth, maybe fifth. And then you look at Jurgen Klopp, comes in and completely rejuvenates Liverpool, gets them back to a league title, gets them a Champions League, a couple of other Champions League finals, along with a few other trophies. So he's rebuilt Liverpool back to where they are now, in a title race again under a new manager. He's built a foundation, he's built a structure, he's built the club back to be able to hopefully carry on at the top of the game. So I started looking into those guys. I started to look into their signings that they had made in their first season and in their second seasons, and then just kind of moving forwards. I then started to look at like Wenger and Mourinho and obviously Fergie and even a little bit of Conte and Ancelotti, and just started to have a look at them. And what I was just kind of looking at was, where does the impact come from the manager? And, I'm going to go through it because I'm screen recording on my laptop, so I hope this works. Just an interesting little thing I found is more often than not, with all these guys that I just named, on their second season, there's a big jump. There's a big jump in points, and there's typically a big jump in league position. So I found that very, very cool. Mourinho, Ancelotti, and Conte, who I don't think I'm really going to dive into here. Interestingly, I just kind of looked at Chelsea. I didn't look too much anywhere else. But interestingly, when they come in at Chelsea, they kind of win right away. They come first within the first season, right? And the team before them may have come second or third. I think in Conte's place, Chelsea finished 8th the season before he comes in, takes them over, and then wins the league. So those guys kind of come in and win the league first off. So I'm going to kind of exclude those out of that. That's where they've been. But it was interesting looking at Fergie, Klopp, Arteta. I even looked a little bit at Ten Hag, just thinking about like Amorim and Pochettino. I don't think I missed anyone off here. And it was just cool looking at the point. So a big thing to talk about Amorim is, again, it's been hammered home a lot. He needs players to fit his shape. He needs players to fit his formation. He needs specialised players in. By the way, the shape that he wants to play, I could never wrap my head around as a coach. I struggle to wrap my head around it watching it live at the highest level. It's really, really hard. You need very, very, very specific players for it. You kind of need two centre halves who are very much similar. I'm just going to use like Kanate as an example, who can eat ground up either side, because then your wing backs can go forwards, right, when they're not tucking back. You need wing backs that have the mentality of a winger and have the ability going forwards to have final product and crossing and potentially finishing, but they also need to be good defensively and they need to be athletic to get up and down. Very, very, very specific. And then I think you need kind of two centre midfielders. Really, how I would use an example of like Declan Rice is. Two guys that can really get around the pitch and cover the area for the wing backs when they're going forwards. Maybe one can go forward a little bit because you've already got a back three behind you. But there's just so much that goes into it, and I found it very difficult to coach. And what I was trying to say in my points to my friends and my brother and my dad. Right, my iPhone ran out of battery there, so annoying. So I'm switching over to the camera. But what I was saying was, what I've not seen so far from Ten Hag is anything different in the players' mentality and how they look on the pitch. It all looks so much the same as it did under Ten Hag. And I think there's more to it than formations. I've been saying that for ages. There's more to it than formations. Everyone's very hung up as that. There's like the philosophy that people need to have. So what I wanted to do was just start with a little video of Fergie, right, who I would consider to probably be the best in my lifetime. I was fortunate enough to be here. This is him doing a live talk at Stanford in California. So when I was out there, this is about 9-10 years ago, I got a ticket to go see him just after his book had come out, and it was a live kind of, chat and then a Q&A with the audience. And it was really, really cool. You should check it out on YouTube if you've not seen it before. But this is a clip from that, and it's just him talking about when he first came into United and what his focus was on, right? And before this, what he says is, when you win as Manchester United, you're on the back page, and when you lose, you're on the front page. So it's how you bounce back from a defeat in the West. The best way to do that is to answer the critics and get a win and keep all the noise away from you, which Man United have not been able to do for a very long time, as of recently. So I'm going to play the clip here just of him talking about that. It's about a minute long, and then we're kind of going to move into what I'm thinking about, just showing you the other managers. So let's see.
Is by doing real well at the beginning. In my time, the thing that was different from me and Louis van Gaal, of course, is that I had longevity. I was there 27 years. So when I went to United at first, my job was to build the foundation in that football club. Because I think most managers, quite right away, have to think about a football team, the first team, because it is a result industry. They're there to make sure the first team does well. I never thought that way. I thought about rebuilding the youth in the club, so they gave me a foundation and gave me a pipeline of young players coming through. And my conviction was never going to change. And I told the directors on day one that's exactly what I was going to do. And of course, I was concerned about the first team. We were second bottom in the league. And I took my time with that. I wasn't in a hurry. Well, most concentration was on scouting, trialling, and coaching for the young people.
Now,
so the most interesting take from that is, and I know he said he had the longevity in the end and he was given the time, as you hope every manager does get given the time to build. But when he's first come into United, his focus wasn't fully on the first team, right? His focus is not on the first team. It's about building everything else around it. The structure between the scouts, the youth system, the staff, which he goes into a little bit, is building that first. And this is my point on, let's just pick Amorim at United. This is my point on that. That can't be his focus. When Jurgen Klopp came into Liverpool, everything changed. He changed everything. The feel about the club, everything got changed. The whole mindset changed. Same with Arteta. He's changed the structure along with Edu. When Edu was at Arsenal as a sporting director, they changed the mentality. They changed things behind the scenes and how they did things, right? Based on their principles about how to get the club back. It wasn't all just necessarily built on a philosophy and a formation. I'm not saying that that's what United are doing behind the scenes and Amorim's feeling, but I don't know, to me it does feel that way. So it was cool to hear that, because I rewatched that last night, and I think that's where United are. The club needs rebuilt back up. It needs built back up from the bottom down, and bottom up, should I say. And obviously Radcliffe's come in. There's a lot of change, so I'm not saying it won't happen, but just having a manager to come in and have a philosophy and a shape, and that being the main thing, you're going to lose your job. You're going to get sacked. So one of the things that I wanted to look at, we'll just quickly kind of move on with Fergie. So this is, sorry, I'm just trying to get the Man United finishes up, which should be, where are we at? Sorry, this is Ten Hag. Cool. So this is Man United's finishes in the league, and this is what I wanted to say, having a look at the managers about the second season and the impact really coming up was interesting. So Fergie takes over United in 86-87, and he comes in 11th place in the old First Division with 56 points. In his second season, there's a massive jump. They go from 56 points to 81, and he comes second. So already you can see season number 2, probably got a couple of his own guys in, got a couple of guys out that he didn't want. It's another year of having him there. The foundations are being laid. It's consistent. They're sticking with it. They go to second. Now, what's interesting about Fergie is everyone knows he was apparently close to going, again, before my time. He then comes 11th and 13th. Now, that's very similar to what happens to Ten Hag. When Ten Hag comes third in his first season with 75 points, good first season, also gets a trophy, and then comes 8th the next season though with 60 points, so a 15-point drop off. He doesn't survive that dip, whereas Fergie does. So again, it's all, anything can happen, you never know. So Fergie doesn't survive the dip, right? He goes from 11th to 2nd, 11th to 13th. He survives it. He then comes 6th from 48 points up to 60. So still not great, but a massive improvement. They then jump all the way back up to 2nd on 78 points. So again, another improvement, another year there, another 17 points. They then go on to win the league the next season in 92-93 with the first ever Prem on 84. And as we all know from there, it's first, second, second, first, and so on and so forth. So again, it was interesting, the spike in the second season and a dip into the third season, but you got given time, and even the fourth season, whereas Ten Hag didn't get that. Ten Hag got the spike there, and then I think the problem here is he brings all his own guys in, and if anything, it regresses and it gets worse than it does. Now, if he was given the time, who would have known? Again, they did kind of keep him on for a little bit of this season. He got a little bit of a third season after winning the cup, when everyone probably felt like he should go. So yeah, I just thought that was the first thing that kind of stuck out to me, and you'll see a theme with that with these other managers. So that's that on Fergie. I think I'll start with Arsenal, and I had a little look at Arteta's first team, his first lineup in his first game. So as you can see there, he's got Lennon on goal, Socrates, Maitland-Niles, David Luiz, Saka plays left wing back, Xhaka, Torreira, Nelson, Ozil, Aubameyang, Lacazette. If you're looking at that, Saka's currently the only one still there, which says a lot. So let's have a little look at like Arteta and Arsenal in terms of what I just said with Fergie. So, he goes from 8th in his first season, right? He gets 56 points in the league. It is then an 8th place finish again, but they do improve slightly. They get 5 more points and go on to 61. So there's an improvement there, even though it being small. They then jump up a couple of places to 5th in the following season, 69 points, right? So again, it's not huge, but there's little bit by bit improvement. He's getting players in that he wants. He's getting guys out that he doesn't. And again, him and Adu and all those guys are there. There's a consistency to the theme. They're working together and it's working. It then is a big jump up. And what's this? 1, 2, 3. In his 4th season, they then come 2nd and they get 84 points. They go on again last season to do it 89 points. So again, it's an improvement, right? But against City, we know how that is. There you go. They come 2nd again. So Arteta's taken a little bit of time, and it took him longer. There wasn't that spike in the second season, but there was improvement, and then improvement again, improvement and improvement. And they're still in the title race this season. So I consider all the arguments about he's not won it and everything like that, but he's built the team back up to that level, right? Let's have a little look at Arsene Wenger in terms of the Fergie thing. So Wenger comes in, first season, he actually comes 3rd with them on 68 points, so they're already doing quite well there after bringing them up from 5th. They then go and win the league in the second season. So again, it's a spike, it's a jump, 78 points for him to win the league. As you can see, they then come 2nd a couple of seasons with similar point tallies, 78 and 73 and 70, before another jump back up again to 87 points to win the league in 2001-2002. So again, there's a spike there for Arsene Wenger in that. kind of area. If we look at again Jurgen Klopp, where is Klopp's first Liverpool 11? Pretty sure this is it here. So he has Mignolet, Klein, Sacco, Skirtle, Moreno, Emre Can, Lucas Leiva, James Milner, Philip Coutinho, and Milan and Divock Origi. As we know, none of them are still at the club. A lot move on kind of towards the end of Klopp's time in the last year or so. Origi and Milner and guys like that. But for the most part, all those guys are gone, and he does a lot of changing. But let's just have a look at Klopp and where he comes in terms of Liverpool and finishing. So he comes in again, he takes over in the October, and he finishes 8th. But if you remember, Liverpool have come 6th under Rodgers the season before. They have the 13-14 season when they're second, but Liverpool are a club that are floating in and around this area. They get the odd second there. Again, there's Champions League wins in here and everything like that. But Liverpool are they're going through that phase. Obviously it took 30 years, right? So we're going from here. They're going through a phase where they're not winning league titles, and it goes and it goes and it goes until Klopp eventually gets it in 1920. But Klopp jumped from 60 points in his first season. He then jumps up to 76 points and comes 4th. They then drop a point. The following season come 4th again, but it's 2 consistent Champions Leagues. I think there's a Champions League final in there as well, which obviously helps. Then again, adding more pieces, it goes to 97 points, which you can't really complain about, and you come 2nd. And then they carry that on again with the following season with 99, and that's where they win the league. They really, really dip down to 69 points, come 3rd. There's a boost back up again, 92 points, and they come 2nd, and so on and so forth. Then there's a couple of dips in there. So again, you see the spike. You see a 16-point spike in season 2 when he's been there and he's got his guys in, and there's everyone singing from the same hymn sheet. So, my point kind of here is, as a Liverpool fan, but from a coaching point of view, is Amorim absolutely deserves to get through the season, see what he wants to do with the guys, see who he can get out, see who he can get in, which is going to be big, because that's been a problem at United. If you can't get them out, and you can't get your guys in, and you're having to work with them, and they're not really who you want, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So there's Klopp's, trajectory. Even look at Pep at City. So Pep's first City 11, Caballero on goal, Sanya, Stones, Kolarov, Clichy, Silva, Fernandinho, David Silva, that is, by the way, Raheem Sterling, Kevin De Bruyne, Nolito, and Aguero. So he's got some firepower up there with De Bruyne, Aguero, and Sterling already. He's coming into a club that have been winning things a little bit different to Arteta and Klopp, but yeah, he's got Stones is still there, De Bruyne's still there, Sterling's moved on, all these guys have really moved on. But again, if we look at City and see how Pep does, if everybody remembers, so he has taken over from a team that's won the league 3 years prior, so it's not a massive weight. They've come 2nd, 4th under Pellegrini. Pep then comes in and they come 3rd in the first season. He comes on 78 points. It's then a massive spike into that team that gets 100 points and he wins the league in season 2. But again, season 2, time to get his own guys in, more time to implement the style, more time to implement the thought process of everyone at the club working together. They get it season 2, and as we know, it carries on. Season 3, 98 points. They lose out to Liverpool, and then they go ahead and they win 4 in a row on 86, 93, 89, 91. Obviously, this season having a bit of a dip again, but I mean, no wonder after that. You can see that. You've seen Fergie had some dips in there too. You don't win the league every season, but there's a spike in season 2. So it's really all about the time and just the backing of what everyone really gets. That's really what it is. But I want to go and look at one thing I did like and I did see was the signings that these managers make immediately, because I think one thing that Amorim needs to do, first of all, and by the way, Pochettino needs to do it at Spurs as well, is they need to make the team harder to beat. You can still play your 3-5-2s, you can still do all that stuff, but how do you make your team hard to beat? For example, yesterday, I know he's tried something with not a lot of midfielders, but what's he trying to do with Bruno and Casemiro in there? I know Bruno's not a guy that's really going to sit and be a centre midfielder, but if he's the captain in your club, ask him to do it for a game. Get them both tight together. He didn't do that. He's not making them hard to beat. They look the same. They're open. And yeah, of course, that could change with the players he gets, but I'm not seeing that. Jurgen Klopp's first game against Spurs, you see the running, you see the pressing, you see immediately what he's trying to do. Arteta takes a bit of time, but Arsenal were known as being soft, and you can see then, as things progress with Arteta, they start to get a bit more nasty, they get a bit more streetwise as he's building other things, but the clubs need specific things. I just think United need to go to being hard to beat first, and whatever that is, and build from there. But if you look at here, Arteta's first signings when he comes in is Pablo Mari, who's a centre half, Cedric Suarez, who is a right back, Willian obviously comes in as a left winger, and then Gabriel comes in as a centre half. So he's signing two centre halves, he's signing a right back, and he's signing a left winger. I'm not really going on about what works and what doesn't work. My point in here is look at the areas he's addressing. And sorry, Thomas Partey is in there as well, defensive midfielder. So look at the areas that he's addressing. He's addressing the team to be more solid at the back, which Arsenal kind of needed at the time, but again is the foundation really of what you should be doing. So that was interesting there. I then did have a look at Jurgen Klopp's, which was much in the same. Now, again, not about them not working, but he buys Marko Grujic, who's a holding midfielder, young, potential superstar, potential next kind of level. Obviously didn't happen for him, but he buys a defensive midfielder. We loan Stephen Cocker on loan from QPR, who's a centre-half. He gets Joel Matip in as a centre-half. Again, defensive. We buy Mane, similar to Arteta. You need a guy up there who you think's going to improve forwards and still get you goals while you're trying to be a bit more disciplined. It's not just about being defensive. You're buying a winger, you're buying someone who you think you can get you some pace and get you some goals. That's important too. And he also buys Karius, a new keeper, and Ragnar Klavan. And the most important in there is Gini Wijnaldum, a centre midfielder, who we've seen what he had him do. Energy in the midfield. Run, get the ball back for us, make us tougher to play against. So very, very similar there. I didn't look at Fergie and things like that. And I did look a little bit at Ten Hag. I did look at Pep too. His is a little different because of where he's coming into. So I don't want to go too far into Pep with his signings. I think we'll probably just leave that actually because it's not the same situation as what I'm trying to say Arteta and Klopp are walking into, and what Amorim's done. But yeah, I was intrigued to see that spike season 2, and I think that's where Amorim needs to be given his time for that. And I think on the flip side, I think Ange needs to adapt and evolve to just have that little bit of that discipline. You can't just be gung-ho. Like, it's great to watch. I love it. I watch it all day long, and the fans will eventually get tired of losing, though. That's the problem, or should I say not winning anything. So it's all about finding that balance. It really, really is. It's all about the balance, I think that was about it. I think I've kind of ranted on and said what I wanted to say, like I said to you before, the other guys I mentioned, like Conte and Ancelotti and Mourinho, they really come in and win things in their first season. Mourinho comes in taking over from Claudio Ranieri, who's kind of had them 4th and then 2nd. He finishes on 79 points. There's a huge spike when Mourinho comes in from 79 to 95. Sure, Chelsea at that time get a lot of guys out and a lot of guys he wants in, and they win the league. They then go on 91 points and win the league again the season after, and then he comes 2nd on 83. So, those guys come in their first at the top. But yeah, I just think, Amorim needs to be given that time. He needs to get the recruitment right. He needs to be allowed to get people out that he doesn't want to have and get guys in that he does want. But he's not going to be able to go and buy. People keep saying the boy at Sporting up top, Gyökeres, if I'm saying his name properly. I don't think that's where you start. I mean, maybe that's your attacker, like I just said in there with Manny and Willian, and your goals, fair enough, but because you need goals. And Man United don't have a lot of goals, so he does need to do something there. But, like, is he going to come to you? Like, you need to get clever. You need to find Manny. You need to find Salah. You need to have a Saka coming through. Like, young guys, where's that? And that's what Fergie talked about at the start, was building that pipeline of guys, because if there's not one out there in the market, you can't afford them. There's one in your youth academy that you can get for free and mould, and they already have the thought process that you do because it's ingrained in them, especially the longer you've been there. So yeah, I think that'll do us. Hope this turns out alright between the iPhone recording and then this. Hope the mic sounds good, hope the screen recording works. But yeah, I enjoyed just kind of rambling on about this. Hope you guys enjoyed it. A little bit of a different video, a little bit of food for thought. Let's see where the spike is, and yeah.